Oh, wow. I'm live and I didn't even realize it. Thank you, YouTube, for once again not giving me the button to hit go live. That's crazy. Why they keep switching it up, I don't understand. Sometimes the button's there, sometimes it's not there. It's like a game of peekaboo or something. I don't know what's going on. Yo, what's going on, guys? John the Don, what's up, man? John E. Def Lloyd, what's going on, fellas? I hope you guys are having a great Wednesday. I hope you're having a great hump day. Whether you humping something or you having just your typical Wednesday, I hope you're having a good one, man. Yeah, but let's discuss this acquisition real quick. A little bit about the acquisition, not too much. But what I really want to discuss is more of something that came out with this earnings call. Give me a moment. I'm gonna kind of throw some music in the background too, while we discuss and everything. Let's do this here. Is that showing? Yeah, there we go. You know, little ambiance out here. Little ambiance. Yo, B, what's good, man? Tando says this Bungie acquisition don't make sense at all. Really? We're gonna get into it. We're gonna get into it, Tando. Hopefully by the end of all this, it's making a little bit more sense to you. We'll see what's up. Double E in the house. What's going on? Connor, Soapbox Games in the house. What's good, man? I hope you guys are having a great Wednesday. Like before. Let's discuss this real quick, right? So what I want to talk about real quick is one, the Bungie thing. Now check out if you want a more in-depth conversation about the Bungie acquisition by Sony. If you aren't aware about that, I don't know where you've been, what rock you've been under. You've been kidnapped, you've frozen in ice like Captain America for a couple of weeks. I don't know, right? But if you aren't aware, Sony Interactive Entertainment has acquired Bungie for $3.6 billion. So they own Bungie, and there's some kind of like Bungie still has complete independence to do what they want, put their games where they want to put them, whatever. I think that's a bit of a mistake on Sony's part, but it is what it is. They spent their money, it's their money. They're going to be able to take that IP and do a lot with it. Destiny, for example, the other games that they're working on that they haven't announced yet, I mean, they're going to be able to do a lot with that, especially in the realm of film and TV. Because although the story in the game Destiny is booty cheeks, the lore is very good and applied in a non-MMO-ish kind of way. It could really work on, say, a Netflix series or an HBO series. And I mentioned those two networks in those streaming services because they're already currently adapting their current IP to those networks. So it will work. It will work, right? Now, outside of that, there was a earnings call that came out earlier this morning, I believe, and or maybe yesterday. I don't know, man. I'm all turned around. But anyway, this earnings call's got some information in it that has got a couple people riled up. One, which isn't really that big a deal, I think, and people kind of expected it, is that they're going to have to lower their forecast for PlayStation 5s being created and shipped because of the semiconductor shortage, right? So that shortage is causing a problem. They're currently behind the PlayStation 4. At one point, they were ahead of the PlayStation 4 when it comes to out-producing and outselling it, the last generation console. Now they're behind, and they're behind because there's a shortage. And there's a shortage not because there's a shortage in demand, it's a shortage in actual semiconductors to actually get those consoles created and into the hands of retailers who can then put those consoles into the hands of actual people who want to buy them. Now, all that said, it's gonna be rough for a little while. Just if you're unfortunate enough to not have a PlayStation 5, and by the way, I just got the black plates on my PlayStation 5. She looking sexy over there. Anyway, look, if you haven't been able to get one, it's gonna be rough going. Continue to do what you can if you're still trying to get one. But if not, I would say before, when they first came out, I got mine like a month after they first came out. I was not trying to play any of these new games on a PlayStation 4. No jet engine sounds, no slow, disgusting mechanical hard drive. I wasn't trying to deal with it. Look, times is rough out here. Maybe stick with that PS4 until you can finally get yourself a PS5. Just that might be the better idea. Just saying. Now, that was less of a big deal. What's more of a big deal is that people are upset that Sony said that they are going to be expanding their portfolio, not switching gears, not changing what they're doing, not modifying the current output, expanding, doing more, giving you more content, but not more content in the single player narrative driven third person variety, but more in the live service multiplayer variety. Something that, if you look at last generation, coming from first party, was a massive just nothing there. There was just nothing there. It was massively missed from a lot of people, and I think that is a good thing. Now, there's some people that may be looking at it like, well, they're concerns, and I kind of wanted to do this live stream to kind of discuss what some of those concerns are, because I think they're very, very unfounded. And first thing we can do is actually go to the source and actually have a transcript of the live call, the earnings call, that I can bring up right now. Let me do this real quick. I think that's it. Yes, that is it. And if I switch this off, hopefully it works. Bam, there we are. The joys of OBS. Okay, so look, this is the page 11 out of 28 of the live of the earnings call, right? So here we are, and give me a second. There we go. Oops. Sorry, I just had to text somebody real quick. I'm gonna go over some of the things that were said here. Now, this is right coming off of the heels of them discussing the acquisition of Bungie and how Bungie is kind of instrumental on their work here in regards to live service games, because they aren't familiar or super experienced with making live service games. Bungie is, because Bungie is 8 years into the 10-year plan of Destiny. So, hey, makes sense to me, right? What's up, Stardust? How's it going, man? How's it going? So what do you guys saying? Okay. Connor says Bungie acquisition is a future-proving move for the future Sony has with any multiplayer live service titles. Bungie can help set the foundation with these titles while other studios come into development. Absolutely. And Bungie is already familiar with, now for the past year and a half or 2 years since they left Activision, actually still publishing their own live service games. So they are familiar with this. And look, Sony had to pay a premium to make this acquisition happen. When you have to pay a premium, it's because the company that you acquired really wasn't in any kind of financial straits where they really needed you. And so this is also good for them, because that means that Bungie was successfully maintaining the Destiny franchise. Let's talk about what the Destiny franchise is, though, right? The Destiny franchise is the only looter shooter that is still maintaining its player base. This is coming from a massive Destiny hater, as you guys already know. I will freely admit that they are the only looter shooter that has not had the massive loss of a player base after they made their mistakes. They're not perfect, clearly, and they made a ton of mistakes. But the other looter shooters, the Division, Warframe, not so much Warframe. Warframe still has a player base, but they're just much, much smaller. Anthem, Borderlands, even Borderlands 3. is now a part of this category, have made mistakes, have not provided what their communities wanted, and those communities moved on to other things, and they haven't been able to maintain the large numbers that Bungie has with Destiny. Now, you could say that potentially because Destiny was the first actual live service looter shooter, that there's people who are committed to this game in a way that those other games didn't have that same commitment because they weren't the first to capitalize on a certain demographic. But I mean, all that said, who knows why people continue to keep playing Destiny, but they've got the formula. Now, if you want to, and I've said this before, when it comes to getting into new genres in gaming that you are not the most familiar with or experienced with, the best way to do that is to hire people who know how to do it for you. Look at a couple examples. These are games, not necessarily a bunch of games, but individual examples of games, right? We have Respawn Entertainment, who went from making first-person shooters like before when they were Infinity Ward, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, became Respawn, Titanfall 2, amazing campaign, 2 really good games, and then switched gears and did Jedi Fallen Order. They didn't do it themselves. It wasn't the same developers that are experienced in making first-person shooters that did it. They created a second studio, hired a bunch of people who have worked on Uncharted, The Last of Us, Rockstar developers. They hired a bunch of people who were familiar with making the kind of game they wanted to make. And they let them do their thing, and it succeeded. Look at what Playground Games, although this game isn't out yet, but what Playground Games is doing with Fable. It's not the Forza Horizon team that's making Fable. They created a second studio and have been consistently hiring people who, one, were former Lionhead Studios developers who know Fable, and then 2, people who have been experienced in making the kind of game that they're trying to make. They ain't got people who've been making race cars and cardboard cutout people in the crowd at the festival making NPCs in Fable. Now contrast that, right, with what happened with Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics. Crystal Dynamics is making Marvel's Avengers. If you play that game, in the beginning, there's zero real live action anything. It's a very traditional, straightforward, narrative-driven story, done very well. They did a great job with Kamala Khan. The story was awesome. You're having a good time in the campaign, and then it just slowly expands into, multiplayer this. Now, I can ask the people who have joined me here and there. It expanded into something else. And then the post-game content, the Avengers Initiative, just absolutely fell flat. That was Square Enix actually forcing Crystal Dynamics to turn that game into a looter, into a live service game, and it failed because it was the developers of Tomb Raider, a single player game, who did Tomb Raider Reboot, Rise of the Tomb Raider, 2 really good games, now being thrust to do something that they were not familiar with from a publisher who does not give a crap about getting stuff done correctly, clearly. And you get the end result that you got, a massive flop from an IP that should not have flopped, Avengers. I mean, it should have been a slam dunk, right? So I say all this, right? Luca, I mean, seriously, why you gotta just come in like that, Luca, with the thought talk? I'm just saying. Khan says, my biggest fear isn't with this gen, it's with 15, 20 years when the full effects of consolidation are felt from a few megacorps buying up the majority of the marketplace. I would say Taz, you ain't gotta repeat it either, too, Taz. Come on. But I would say, Connor, that is never going to be a problem. And I know I'm kind of in the minority here about that, and I'll just do a small little tangent about that real quick. That's never going to be a problem because this gaming industry has always been cyclical in how studios rise. They either become publishers or they get acquired by a publisher, a platform holder, and they get bigger, or they get split up or whatever. But the independent indie developers, there's always another developer that takes that spot. At one point, BioWare was revered as the best Western RPG maker out there. They're not considered that anymore. Now there are other developers who a decade ago, when we were all singing BioWare's praises, that we didn't even know existed. Well, some of them didn't exist. But now people talk about Larian Studios, who's doing Baldur's Gate 3, who did Divinity Original Sin 1 and 2. People look at them and they're like, that's the pinnacle of Western RPGs. It's always going to be another developer. Look, Interplay. Long time ago, Interplay did Fallout, Fallout 1 and 2, did the first Baldur's Gate, did a lot of what people consider to be the foundation of Western RPGs, and what sprung out of the corpse of Interplay was BioWare Obsidian. A lot of the devs from there went to Bethesda to make stuff like Elder Scrolls and Fallout, In Exile. Like, there's always going to be developers that will fill the void. And you'll see it. Give it 5 years. 5 years or so. We're talking about other developers that we don't even know exist right now. Hell, some of those developers could be from, keeping on the theme of BioWare, from BioWare. Yellow Brick Games are former BioWare developers. Aspire, working on Knights of the Old Republic remake. 50 of the team that's working on that remake are from former BioWare devs. Archetype Entertainment, working on a sci-fi-ish action RPG, with the lead writer being the lead writer from Mass Effect. It's always going to be somebody to fill the void. That's all I'm saying. Now, move it out here with the slander. Anyway, so back to what I'm saying here. I'm going to read what they said here in regards to the Bungie acquisition, and then we're going to get into the talking of the live service stuff. So this is on page 11 of the transcript from Sony's earnings call. Give me a second because I got to get some water because I've been running my mouth. Okay. All right, here we go. The strategic significance of this acquisition lies not only in obtaining the highly successful Destiny franchise, as well as major new IP that Bungie is currently developing, but also in incorporating into the Sony group the expertise and technology that Bungie has developed in the live game services space. We intend to utilize these strengths when developing game IP at the PlayStation Studios and as we expand into the live game services arena. So what they're saying there is that they are going to be leveraging Bungie's experience in live game services to help them make successful live game services games in the future. And notice nowhere in here they're talking about having Bungie help their current studios stop doing what they're doing to make live service games. They're talking about pushing forward and making new kind of games that none of this has anything to do with what they have been currently already working on. Now, they continue on through close collaboration between Bungie and the PlayStation Studios. We aim to launch more than 10 live service games by the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2026. So that is, I mean, that's a significant time period from now. You're looking at, I mean, it's close to March at this point. It's on March will be next month. That's 4 years from now. So 10 live service games in 4 years. No way is that coming from their current all from the current games that they have. Studios that they have right now. Now, sure, some of those live service games will likely be games that have already been in development, like Guerrilla's second studio working on their shooter. We don't know what that is, but it's probably a live service game. It will also be the Factions, which should have been out by now, but the multiplayer for The Last of Us Part 2, Factions, which they turned into a standalone thing, likely will be live service as well, right? But we're talking about like other stuff that they already had, deals they already had in place with Firewalk Studios, Deviation Games. This is a lot of stuff that they haven't really officially announced yet with actually showing you the games. But this doesn't mean that Sony Santa Monica is going to now make a SOCOM Battle Royale. Like, no. Those developers are going to continue to do what they do. Continue to do what they're great at. So I wanted to kind of show that so that people can see what was being said and not necessarily what people are hearing from other gamers out there in the Twitterverse or whatever. So yeah. Let's see what you guys are saying. Lucas says the music is a nice touch. Why, thank you. I do tend to like this song. It's pretty cool. Yeah. Also, won't they do some on mobile? Yes, Johnny. They are going to expand into mobile because mobile is. We gotta keep it a buck. Mobile is bigger than everything else. Mobile is where the majority of the actual revenue on an annual basis is generated, and of course they're going to expand into that. Now, does that mean that the kind of games that we like are going to change? Does that mean that the next Ghost of Tsushima 2, which might be Ghost of I don't know, like whatever they call the name, that it might be something different than what the game was before? No. They're going to make completely different IP. They may leverage the IP that they have right now. It might be like, say, Infamous, right? Take the IP Infamous and make a game on mobile, but it's not going to be that, like, those games are going to be, that mobile game will be exactly like the game on console. That, like, the kind of game that you enjoy from them is now going to be more like a mobile game. That's not going to happen. Okay, so it's like, one, mobile gamers don't like them kind of games, because if they did, they would have a console. That's one. Two, console gamers don't like those kind of games. People have to understand these are completely different markets, and if they're completely different markets, then you have to actually make games that appeal to those markets, and not just have one game that is doing kind of like a hybrid of both, and then no one is satisfied. Then you just wasted your time, your money, as well as the gamers' time and their money for actually spending money on that trash, right? You got to come up with a free-to-play model where you monetize things in there, but it has to be a free-to-play, a game that will appeal to people and make people feel like they want to spend some money to continue to enjoy that kind of game. Yes, the format, trash. As far as console game is concerned, we don't like to see that in the console space, but that's how the mobile space works, and so they'll have mobile games that do that. Largely though, if you're a PlayStation 5 gamer, none of that stuff they're going to do on mobile will really affect you. You're not even going to see them games. You don't even know that is happening. This Activision Blizzard acquisition of Microsoft made, people didn't even know what the hell King was. Who's King? What's a King? Is that like they got kings there at Activision? No. The company King that is big in mobile is part of Activision, making games you don't even know anything about, except for maybe Call of Duty Mobile. You don't play Call of Duty Mobile, yet it's making money. You have nothing to worry about, man. Nothing to worry about, people. This weird. Like this weird idea that people just like they run with narratives and they say, oh well, because they're focusing on live service games, that means that like the resources that they had for the next God of War and the next Uncharted are no longer going to be there. According to whom? Where are you getting your information from? The same people who think they don't have enough money to to support and develop a live service game as well as single player narrative games is the same people that be out here saying, getting mad at Xbox gamers because, oh no, they got enough money to acquire Capcom and Sega and Ubisoft and Square Enix. Wait a minute, so they got billions to acquire developers, but they ain't got millions to support multiple kind of games at once? Where's the logic at? Where is the logic? That makes no sense whatsoever. None. I mean, come on. Where's the issue? Oh, I mean, it's not going to be enough, artists and developers out there and technology. Look, just if you don't know anything about game development, I'm not a game developer, but I talk to game developers. And I'm not saying everything that I may say out my mouth is going to be accurate. Sometimes they tell me, hey, the one thing you said right then on that podcast or in your video is a little off. I'm still learning. But at the same time, I know that how supply and demand works. And this is an industry where there are no unions. This is an industry where developers and publishers freely treat their developers like subhuman garbage, and they get away with it because those developers are so excited and so motivated to work for some of these devs that they are willing to deal with the kind of conditions that other people who make far less than they make would deal with, in order to say, I work at Naughty Dog. In order to say, I work at Sony Santa Monica. Hey, I worked on Halo. And if people want to get on the soapbox and say, we're not going to take this anymore. We want better wages. We want less hours. We want some AC in this damn office. They'll be fired, and then there'll be people replacing them within the week that can't wait to get a job working for XDev on XIP. So no, there is zero concern with Sony not having enough developers to go around to do the work they need to do. They acquired Nixus specifically to do ports for PC. That's all they're going to do. Take existing IP, port it. They got no problem whatsoever finding people to get work done. None. So all of this stuff is unfounded. Every time I ask people, like, where's this idea coming from? Like, where'd you get that idea? Like, why do you think that's a problem? And it's always like, well, I'm gonna use the example of a completely separate publisher who clearly has other issues going on as my example of why Sony would do that. Huh? So, because Ubisoft decided they're gonna make all their games the same, that Sony is gonna make all their games the same? Ubisoft is dumb, and we all know this. Like, what? Is Ubisoft management in charge of Sony now? Like, aren't they two different companies? Okay, so because Epic Games Fortnite was wildly successful, they shut down development of all the other games. That means that Sony going to do the same thing. Okay, so how long has Fortnite been successful? How many years? And then yet Sony still hasn't taken that example to shut down all their other studios in the pursuit of one thing. Like, we have clear evidence that none of that is the same, that none of these companies operate the same, and we can't immediately be like, oh, because this publisher did this, we're completely different people, we're a completely different culture, we're completely different IP, we're completely different everything, is just going to do exactly what this other publisher did. Sure, it's a copycat industry. They're going to copy a kind of game, and they're going to try to make it work, but they're not going to sabotage their bread and butter. Like, what? I just don't get people, man. It's crazy. What you guys talk about the chat? I haven't even looked at the chat. Just been running my mouth here. Alvin says that. Okay, Power Man 4K says Sony straight in Xbox's footsteps, only a matter of time. So Xbox themselves doesn't rely solely on live service games. So I don't know if that was what you were trying to say, Power Man, but like they want to diversify their portfolio the same way Xbox is trying to diversify their portfolio too. So Alvin says all 10 of those games come to PC day and date. Some may even come to Xbox. Jim is about that paper. I don't think any of them are coming to Xbox, but PC, absolutely. Day and date, maybe not on like uniformly all at once, right? Like Factions might be day and date, but then some of these other games may not. Like it may be staggered, a staggered release. If they do that, I really hope they understand and this is where Bungie will come into play. The limitations that and the issues that Bungie suffered through in order to get this done. Bungie had a lot of problems with Destiny 2 on PC initially when it came to PvP. Cheaters all over the place, but now they've got a better anti-cheat to deal with that, and that's something that hopefully the Sony studios, when they do that, they won't have those same problems. Like the lessons learned from Bungie can now be applied to what Sony does in the future. And I don't have a ton of time here because I gotta go pick up my kids from school and whatnot, but I will be wrapping up fairly soon, but not quite right away. So we'll look at some of your other comments here. Johnny says only need like 2 or 3 of them to hit for them to basically fund the traditional first party games. Yeah, look, it is not a shocker or a secret that the successful live service multiplayer games generate more revenue on average than your successful first party games. And that doesn't mean that single player games can't be successful. That's clearly false, and Sony has proven that over the past 5 years. But it's still true that the live service games generate more revenue. Now, why would Sony forego their first party offerings to just make more of that when they only would be cannibalizing each other's player bases? Instead, what you're going to see is that they do have 2 or 3 that hit. The higher generating revenue of those games will be able to fund more games that are of a different variety, like single player narrative driven games in the future. And so if anything, instead of having less resources available, it'll provide more resources. It'll provide more opportunities for the Sony studios that are not doing live service games to be able to make those games as higher AAA quality as possible. Those budgets that Sean Layden talked about, how they were getting bigger and bigger, how games at one point were like 150 million to make, and now they're getting up to the 200 to 250 million. Well, you have a game that hits really well and generates a ton of revenue for you, that might not be a problem in the future. Yeah. Yes, as Arturo said, hit that like button, man. Hit that subscribe button, man. Do that. Oh man, hope you guys having a great Wednesday afternoon. I am. I feel good. I feel great. You know, watched some Mandalorian earlier. It was pretty nice. I said The Mandalorian. You know what? I should call it The Mandalorian. The Book of Boba Fett, which is turned into The Mandalorian, because the only good episodes have been when The Mandalorian's been in them. But it's been a good day. It's been a good day so far. I just really want to come live and just talk with some people and just really kind of get this idea that Sony is going to turn into a completely different company just because they're going with live service games. And look, they said they came out last year and said they were working on 25 new IP, right? 25 new IP. Whether these 10 games are a part of that 25 new IP or completely separate, that still would be a minimum of 15 games that aren't live service games that are coming out within the next 4 years. I think that's pretty damn good. I just realized I paid for a Destiny 2 Battle Pass that I haven't even touched. I guess I need to start grinding before Wishwing. Good luck with that, cause I mean, you know what? No, like, do you even really need to grind? I don't know. Like, I haven't really been too invested in the Destiny ecosystem like that anymore. But do you really even need to grind? When the new expansion comes out, they're gonna hit you with a minimum power level anyway. So I don't know. Do you have to? I wouldn't play a game that I don't feel like playing, especially not for a grind. That's why I'm kind of done with looter shooters myself. I can't deal with it anymore. I have other games that I'd rather play, and the structure of those kind of games isn't for me. But it works for other people. Other people dig that. They do their dailies and weeklies. They dedicate 2 hours out of their very busy schedules to play these kind of games. They end up accumulating over thousands of hours in these games. They did it very naturally over a course of a number of years. I know a couple people that are smiling as I say that, and that's fine. That's what makes this game a successful game, regardless of how much I I talk trash about it. It's successful, and this is the kind of, even though this game isn't going to be exclusive to PlayStation, you don't spend $3.6 billion to not try to have something from this acquisition help make your platform unique from other platforms. And so where that comes into whether Bungie eventually does an exclusive for PlayStation at some point, or just really helps guide their other smaller indie developers who are working on live service games or first-person shooters or just multiplayer titles in general for PlayStation to do better, and then that's how it's going to turn out. That's the way it's going to work, and that's how they make their money back. In addition to leveraging this IP for TV and film, which I'm not going to be surprised at all if when that finally pops up and get an announcement of one of these stories from Destiny showing up on Netflix or Twitch. I said Twitch, my bad. HBO Max or something like that. Percolator says, hope you're good. I am good. By the way, I was playing, check out my Twitch channel. I was playing Demon Souls yesterday, right? Coming Demon Souls, I'm just minding my business. And I happened to come across the boss called the Flame Lurker. Like his Flame Lurker. I call him a failed broken cigarette lighter is what I call him. Because that's how I treated him. I treated him like broken trash. And I whooped his ass. That actually rhymed. Broken trash, whipped his ass. That's exactly what I did to him. Now, just so happened, I may have died right at the end, right? But I still got the dub because my character was still walking around semi-breathing because he had a spirit or whatever. Actually, no, he wasn't, because I actually had got my humanity back. And he was a corpse, and I got his soul in my back pocket now. So look, check out the stream. I'm actually going to upload that boss fight to the channel later today once I get the opportunity. This was going to actually be a uploaded video, but just time constraints, and I'm busy out here, man. I just thought that I could go live and probably still get a lot of what I wanted to say and then some out, instead of just doing the uploaded video, which is going to take hours to edit and then wait for YouTube's dumbass algorithm to finally get the 4K version out. Like, why bother with all that, right? Rodiman says, what are your thoughts on Edge of Eternity? Edge of Eternity, I played that when it was on PC. That was still in beta. Turn-based RPG. I think the story's boring. I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. I thought the story was boring. I couldn't get into it. The developer, I think, is really talented. Their tech is good. I like their process. I like how they get their community involved in in the development of their characters. If they actually will show a character, like, this is a new character we're having in the game, what do you guys think? And they'll go back and forth, and they'll take community suggestions and how to change the character to make it more to their liking. All that kind of stuff is great and all, but I found the game boring. But I know a lot of people are liking it, so I would say check it out. Check it out for yourself. So Connor says, listen, the only question that matters is, when do I get my Destiny 2 PS5 theme armor, weapons, and Sparrow? Now, the question is, will you get that stuff, right? Because didn't Bungie say they're no longer kind of trying to do that kind of thing? They're no longer trying to do content that's specific to a particular platform. They promised the community it wouldn't do that no more. So just because they're acquired by PlayStation doesn't mean they go back on that. I think some people might get upset, especially people who play the game on Xbox and PC. I mean, and the 12 people that played on Stadia. I think they might have some qualms with that. Do you still play the Division 2? Any news on content? Division 2, I actually reinstalled Division 2 last week and played a little bit of it. I did a little bit. I did a test stream. Wait, no, I didn't do it. That wasn't in the test stream, but I did play a little bit of it. Yeah, I did. My bad. And yeah, I did a test stream last Sunday. And yeah, Division 2 is I mean, ain't nothing going on, man. It's dead. It's dead as a doornail. I actually was messed around with it. I got a weapon that shout out to, I can't remember who told me, but somebody said that a particular exotic weapon legendary weapon, my bad, I said exotic. Legendary weapon would work well with the kind of build I was using. I went and just did the very little stuff that needed to be done, prerequisites to get that. It's fine, but the Division, they need new content, bad, like really bad. It's been a year and a half, and clearly they had abandoned the game, and Ubisoft won't admit it. And that's why they didn't have stuff ready when their current content, the last content they did ran out. And now, because the studio, Massive Entertainment, that's supposed to do all that stuff, Massive Entertainment is too busy now working on Star Wars game, as well as an Avatar game and another game, to do the Division 3 or any additional content to Division 2. So maybe we'll get some of that stuff later this year. I would say probably before Destiny 2 gets any new maps for PvP. I'm sorry, that was petty of me, but nonetheless, I said it. I said what I said. This is digital. Seriously, do you really think Sony will drop all that money and not benefit? They're benefiting in a lot of different ways. They're benefiting, like I've gone on, throughout this entirety of this stream, which has been about 40 minutes of me rambling, discussing where they benefit. And the benefits they're getting isn't going to directly be making Destiny exclusive. I still do contend that they will likely have at some point, not a game that's currently in development by Bungie, but some games in the future may actually be an exclusive title that is only on PlayStation and probably PC. But that's not like nothing that you're gonna see anytime soon. And they're hiring and trying to fill out a lot of the teams that Bungie has right now. They're working on like 3 separate games at the moment. An IP that's completely unknown, an IP that Sony bought out from NetEase. NetEase gave Bungie $100 million to make a game supposed to be on consoles and mobile. And of course Destiny itself, right? So they're trying to hire more people to actually manage those projects better, and they'll likely do more than that in the future too. But yeah, I mean, like, yeah, you don't spend $3.6 billion and not get something that's going to make your platform more unique, yet at the same time, like, here's how they do that. Bungie is helping them with their other live service games, which is something that if they were just an acquisition and just making Destiny exclusive, one, I think that's a bad idea for a game that's an ongoing game that's already established on other platforms. But two, if they did that, then they wouldn't be getting Bungie helping these other studios make their live service games. And then, like, so what's really the benefit, the bigger benefit? Them working on Destiny and Destiny's exclusive and other games they make, or these other 10 games getting the kind of attention and guidance that Bungie can provide? Like, you know, let's look at the benefits here. And it's just not as clear cut as some people think it is. Okay, I think, is that, anyone else have anything else? If not, I'm about to wrap it up. It's about 1:20. I need to actually throw some clothes on, eat something, go pick up my son from school, you know, all that good stuff. I appreciate all you guys for coming through, though. I think I saw maybe up to like 30 people here. I'm glad you guys. Look, it's very impromptu me doing this, but I would have did typically a lunchtime with slow-mo on the Twitch channel, but you know, I knew I was going to spend this entire time running my mouth about live service games at PlayStation, so why not go live on YouTube? Bread and butter, right? I do hope that you guys have a great day. I'm about to get up out of here. Wait a minute, hold up. Suicide Squad game delayed, Luca? That's real? That just got announced? Wasn't Suicide Squad wait, that was coming out this year, right? That is unfortunate, because I'm looking forward to that. Or maybe not. I thought Gotham Knights was coming out this year. I thought Gotham Knights was the one that was furthest along in development. I don't know. Maybe not. Okay. All right, but it's all good. I'm getting up out of here. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and come check out, let's see what's going on today. It's Wednesday. BRAP Basement Radio Arcade Podcast. Good grief. This evening, 9 p.m. Eastern, on Enrique's channel, BRAP. Come check us out. I think I'll be there. It all depends on how much work I get done throughout the rest of the evening, but come check that out. And then, of course, DPS podcast tomorrow. Me and my co-host, the homie Gaming Forte, on his channel. Yes, his channel tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as usual. And yeah, we'll get up out of here. You guys take care.